the choir? Oh. We invite you to begin the service by singing, "Here We Have Gathered," number 360.
Here we have gathered, gathered side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who see here find a kindly word. May all who speak here feel they have been heard. Sing now together, as our heart's own song. Here we have gathered, called to celebrate. Matters small and great. We of all ages, children, men, infants and sages, sharing what we can. Sing now together, with our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regret, but in the shadows let us not forget. We who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us as we give again. Sing now together, ship this our heart's own song.
I love that hymn, but there's one line in it that I think we can improve upon. It says, "May all who seek here find a kindly word." I think we can do better than that. Good morning, everyone. Greetings to all who are gathered here. If you are joining us from home, make sure to stay after the service online because there's going to be an online coffee hour. This is something we used to do, but stopped, and now we're doing it again, so stick around for that online. If you are visiting us today for the first time or are a returning visitor, take a moment to fill out the yellow visitor's card in your order of service so you can keep up with everything that's going on around here. And a reminder, the service is not over when we're done singing. We simply move into the courtyard for our time of fellowship. Talk to someone you don't know. Talk to someone you've been dying to speak to. We do not have an official greeters committee here. We're all greeters. That being said, welcome to the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. I'm Peter Hale, a member of your worship arts team, along with Deb Karoff, Eileen Bunning, Matthew Grissett, and Heather Levin, your hosts for this morning's service. When planning this service, I had several ideas of what I thought would be interesting to talk about, but then Reverend Julia spoke to me and said, well, you know, Friday is Valentine's Day, and there's going to be love in the air, lingering love. Why don't you talk about it in the service? And I thought, oh no. What new and interesting can be said about love? Hasn't it all been said? But then I thought, well, each of us has our own perception and experience of love. We give and receive love, each uniquely. So in this hour, we will explore how love has touched us, changed us, and given our lives meaning.
Good morning. I always need to do my height assist platform. My name is Deb Karoff, and I will read the chalice lighting. If you are joining us in our online sanctuary and would like to participate from home, please type into the chat, "Chalice is lit," and the name of your street or town. We cannot see the flames, but wherever you may be, we know they are burning bright throughout our community. And I don't know the name of this family. Charlotte, can you help me? I'm so sorry. I know. What's their name?
I'm Travis.
Hi, Travis.
This is Carver. This is Kaya, my wife Randy, there in the choir.
Good morning. Welcome. Thank you. The chalice reading is called "Love Remains the Center" by Eric Hepburn. We light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. Thank you. Every week, they're very cute. Every week, we name one good thing, or we try to, which is a little challenging, frankly, at the moment. However, I want to talk about this, which is that throughout human history, houses of worship have been regarded as protected spaces for persons who entered them for sanctuary. Just a few weeks ago, the Unitarian Universalist Association joined more than 25 religious denominations and associations in filing a lawsuit against the administration's new policy that allows immigrant raids, arrests, and other enforcement actions at houses of worship. I have one more line. So, the press release said, which I think you'll also appreciate, "Our sacred spaces must continue to offer sanctuary to those who face oppression, violence, or alienation, including immigrant communities." Thank you.
It feels so good to sing together. Let's join in our next hymn. This is one we haven't sung before, so we're going to be exploring this one. Love Builds a Bridge, number 353.
Love makes a bridge from heart to heart and hand to hand. Love finds a way when loves are blind and freedom banned. Love breaks the walls of language, gender, class, and age. Love gives us wings to slip the bars of every cage. Love lifts the hopes that force and fear have beaten down. Love breaks the change and gives us strength to stand our ground. Love makes a bridge that winds may shake yet not destroy. Love carries faith through life and death through endless joy.
Good morning, everyone. If you you don't know me, my name is Charla Bergante. I am the Director of Religious Exploration around here. My pronouns are she, her, and this is my lovely assistant, Janie Madlani. And we would like to invite the kids up for a story, and anyone who wants to sit on the rug, come on up. We've got a nice story for you today. You can pull that out. Great. Here they come, trickling on up. I'll sit down here and Janie, because Janie's going to be doing all the visuals. Dylan's bringing things to do. It's not going to be that boring, Dylan. On Valentine's Day, which was Friday, right? On Valentine's Day, we exchange Valentines with people to show them we love them. And it's easy to think about who we love. Can you guys name somebody you love? Anybody? Anybody love anybody here? Shout it out if you love somebody. Aw, thank you. But what if we wanted to grow that love? Imagine tossing a stone into a pool of water. What happens to the water when you throw a stone? What? It splashes, and then what happens? Ripples. It ripples out. It makes circles, rippling outward, wider and wider, right? So imagine that stone that we toss in is love. Our love could spread out wider and wider like ripples in the water. So Janie's just put a gold sticker right in the middle of that paper, and that is our stone of love. So next, that first ripple would be love for ourselves. We need to love and nurture love for ourselves for our love to grow wider. We've got a little love for ourselves. And then next, our love would probably ripple out to our family, I would imagine. So think about your family in your mind right now. Picture their faces smiling and who you love, the family that you love. After that, it'll probably ripple out to our friends, right? So imagine your close friends, your very closest friends who you love. Yeah? I was thinking grandparents as part of the family, but you're right, grandparents too, for sure. Yeah, grandparents. Yeah, your grandparents are part of your family, so yes. And some people we think of as our family are people we're not even related to, so however you think of family. So after our friends, our love might ripple out to include maybe the people in our church and our school. We love our church and our school. After that, I'm thinking maybe we could let our love ripple out to our neighborhood or our town. Like people that we see around but we don't really know them. Like when I go to Trader Joe's, those people are all so friendly, right? I could ripple out some love towards them. So people in our neighborhoods and our towns who we don't know very well. After that, maybe we could let our love ripple out to our whole state. What state do we live in? California. Let's let the love for California ripple out. I think Julia did a whole service about loving California just a few weeks ago. And then after that, we could let the love ripple out to people all over our country. That might be a little challenging for some of us right now, but we're going to try to do that. Ripple that love out to everyone in our country who we don't even know. And after that, bigger and bigger until we let that love ripple out to everyone in the world, people that we don't know, people that we will never meet, but we're going to let that love ripple out to them. And finally, the biggest heart, the most humongous heart, if we open our hearts really wide, we could let the love ripple out to the earth itself, right? So we start right here, and we imagine a world of love without boundaries, a love big enough for the people we know, the people we don't know very well, and the people we don't know at all. This idea of loving all people and beings, not just the ones who are the same as us or the people we know, is what we mean when we talk about building the beloved community. You'll hear that a lot around the Unitarian Society. And here's the thing, Peter. Here's the thing. We can all help build the beloved community. It starts right in here. That's our time for all ages today. But before we go, I want to invite all of you during coffee hour to stop by the RE table in the garden. We've got a special Valentine for you. Matthew, let's sing these kids out. You can take the whole thing.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious love. We hold you in our love as you go.
In each service, we set aside a few minutes for sometimes called prayer, sometimes reflection, sometimes meditation. I prefer a time of silence. And in the silence, there's nothing to do. There's nothing to think about. But there's something to be aware of, and that's the thoughts that constantly are going through our mind. When we're in silence, we realize that our mind is full of thoughts. But the more time we spend in silence, the further and further away these thoughts become, until at some point they're gone. We won't achieve that in just a moment, in a minute, but that is the idea behind being in silence. Let's sing again. Love knocks and waits for us to hear.
Love knocks and waits for us to hear, to open and invite. Love loves to quiet second mile with them. Love comes to heal the broken heart, to ease the troubled mind. Without a word, love bids us start to ask and seek and find. Love knocks and enters at the sound of welcome from within. Love sings and dances all around and feels new life begin.
Good morning. I'm not Deb Karoff. However, I am Eileen Bunning, not Ellen Bunning. The order of service got a little scrambled today, so bear with us. We're all a loving people. So for today, we were invited to give a reflection on love, our choice to define love and what it means to us. I found this rather difficult because there are so many ways to define love. And as I thought about how and what was going on in my life, I had my attention drawn to my current relationship with my spouse, Mike. About 19 years ago, we both lost our former spouses. I loved John very deeply, but he had had a major heart attack and was now in end-stage cardiac disease. And I was caring for him at home as he requested. We were surrounded by family and help from the V&A Hospice, the agency that I was then serving as CEO. We got good care. I know of Mike, or I should say I knew of Mike, but more because his wife, Sarah, she was so well known for her work and advocacy early on in the hospice movement. In fact, she went to DC to advocate for and influence getting the hospice benefit included in Medicare. When I heard that Mike and Sarah were moving here to Santa Barbara, I was thrilled and planned to invite her to be on her advisory committee in the hospice program, which she agreed to just as we began planning the building of Serenity House. She was a wonderful resource for me. Sadly, it wasn't long after they moved here that she succumbed to a long, long journey with cancer. Mike had been with her every step of the way. It was only 6 weeks later that my husband succumbed to his heart disease. If you have lost a love of your life, then you understand grief. It's hard to love, and it's even harder to have to say goodbye. I stayed very busy with my responsibilities at the agency and really was not thinking of seeking another relationship. But life continued, and one day I received a phone call from Mike that he was in a hospice grief group, and the chaplain facilitator thought perhaps Mike should reach out to me as we were both on a similar journey. Hey, it's gotta be okay. It was the chaplain that suggested it. We were both in our 60s. We had a lot to share and we could talk together endlessly. Then we started traveling together and begun making some of the wonderful memories that we made on our travels. We found we were great companions, and we were starting to love each other. With the approval of our children, we moved in together and began sharing our lives. Now we are in our 80s, facing medical challenges and the related physical impacts on our bodies and mind. We don't want to, but we acknowledge the nearing of one of the last of our journeys. And I'm not going to tell you that it's all Valentines and roses. Each of us are changing. Some days when one of us is feeling great and ready to do something, the other is really down and can't imagine leaving the house. We had to learn to listen deeply, honor the other's situation, and gently negotiate a solution. We are also learning as much as we can medically how our bodies are being impacted and the manifestation on our brains and our mobility. We many times feel frustrated, fearful, and depressed. But thank the gods, we still care very much for each other. We can have a sense of humor, and boy, can we laugh together. It is as if we are listening and dancing together, and the tempo of the music keeps changing. And sometimes we wonder, who is holding up whom? Today, I would define love for us as we age. This is our story. Deep, caring communication, acceptance, and forgiveness, with a big dose of humor and hugs. And Mike, I'm going to try to say this. My Valentine for you is, I believe we are meant to be together on this part of our journey. And as hard and as bumpy the road is, let's grab each other's hand and hang on tight as we find our way to keep loving and supporting each other through this last part of our journey. I love you. Thank you.
I'm Deb Karoff. Today I want to talk about my relationship with Anna and what it is like to share a life and a love on the margins. Anna and I began our relationship in 1979, more than 45 years ago, in St. Louis, Missouri. Roughly 4 years later, we moved to Santa Barbara, and we joined the Unitarian Society soon after we moved here. In 1995 and 1999, we adopted 2 infant girls from China and raised them together. They are delightful, caring, and interesting people. In 2008, Anna and I were legally married. Those are the very basic facts about our family life. I want to go back to 1979 when we first became partners in love and life. It was a very different time, and loving someone of the same gender was considered abnormal, aberrant, completely unacceptable, especially in Missouri, where we were living at the time. The oldest of 4 children, I grew up in an upper middle class family. Anna was an only child and grew up in a working class Italian-American family. I was raised as a Unitarian. Anna was raised a Catholic. Given these sparse facts in 1979, perhaps you can imagine how our families reacted to our love and relationship. Not well. My father asked about our relationship before I was ready to talk to my parents about it, and then I was headlong into an emotional roller coaster with my parents. He was disappointed, and my mother could speak no words directly to me and cried for months. I understood from my dad that she was deeply afraid for me because I had chosen a life that would be difficult and hard, and she was convinced that she had failed me as a mother. Anna managed to keep the nature of our relationship secret from her parents. For 6 years, I was her roommate and friend. To give you a sense of Anna's ability to keep secrets from her mother, excuse me, her mother died never knowing that her daughter had joined the Unitarian Society 20 years before. Nonetheless, Anna's mother was a smart woman, and after her first visit to our home in Santa Barbara and witnessing that we did our laundry together, she confronted Anna. And at that point, she stopped talking to Anna for a month, and she stopped talking to me until she died roughly 20 years later. Her father didn't understand our relationship, but he understood in some fundamental way that I loved his daughter very much. With our deep and steady love for each other and the passage of time, our families each settled into various levels of acceptance and love. Of course, adopting our daughters created more loving acceptance in all kinds of ways. Children give love so freely, and all of our parents reciprocated in full and loving ways. We were, however, an unusual family unit, and this seemed especially obvious when we traveled. Our families lived on the East Coast, and we usually made 2 trips a year to visit them in Massachusetts. Our families stood out when we got on a plane. 2 women and 2 Chinese children who called one of them Mommy and the other Mama. We got lots of stares when we boarded with our young kids and all the stuff that one brings when you travel with children. Some people looked confused, some people smiled with understanding, and some people looked annoyed or troubled. Flash forward to another moment in time. In 2008, Anna and I got legally married in this sanctuary, roughly 29 years from when we first acknowledged our commitment to each other. About 10 days before our marriage, we talked with Reverend Aaron McKemris about getting married. We were fairly casual about it and suggested that we just get married in his office with our daughters, a few friends, and my parents who had recently relocated to Santa Barbara. Aaron would have none of that casual, nonchalant talk. He asked pointed questions about the depth of our love and commitment, and he reminded us of the sacred covenant of marriage. He wanted us to write vows and everything. September 21st, 2008 was a Sunday, and during the worship service that morning, Aaron invited all members of the congregation to join us in celebrating our marriage shortly after the service. About 100 people from the congregation joined us. Some of you who are here today witnessed our marriage. Here we were, a lesbian queer couple living on the margin, their 2 children beside them being lovingly embraced by this congregation. What a shift in time and perspective. Our life as a couple and family was mostly quite wonderful. How did this happen for a couple and family living on the margin? We were fortunate to find supportive workplaces where we did meaningful work and a school where our young children flourished. We were fortunate to find the Unitarian Society. We are now in a different time when there are more categories of those who represent some type of other, and they are living on the margin. We may be queer, trans, immigrants, people of color, female, houseless, young, disabled, mentally ill. We still need places that can offer protection, strength, assurance that we, who live on the margins, are not villains or bad people. We need communities where no matter who or how we may identify ourselves, we are acknowledged, supported, and loved. We need places where the fullness of everyone's personhood is cherished. I love Anna so very much, and I am deeply appreciative of the life we have created together. The path we walk is rich with love, admiration, respect, vulnerability, silly squabbles, and occasional more serious conflict. This congregation has been a place that holds us on our path, and we thank all of you. In our current times, may we continue to hold all who live on the margins in ways that are loving, steady, and with firm conviction. Thank you. Every Sunday, USSB donates 25% of our Sunday offering to support special projects and community partners that share our deepest values. This month, we are sharing our offering with PFLAG Santa Barbara. And for more than 30 years nationwide, PFLAG has been providing peer-to-peer support and a wide range of resources to help families support, affirm, and advocate on behalf of their LGBTQ, TQ being stressed here, and loved ones. To state the depressingly obvious, PFLAG's services are needed today to a degree not witnessed since the organization began. Please give as generously as you can to ensure that PFLAG can continue its life-saving, soul-saving work. For those of you at home, the text to give number appears on your screen. Please join me, if you would, with saying the affirmation of gratitude and giving. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, and let them be enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others. Thank you.
I have been very fortunate to have had mentors. They appeared at the crossroads, guides pointing the way, who gave me direction and helped me create the life I enjoy today. My first mentor was my Uncle John. He was actually my great uncle. He was my grandmother's brother. And we lived together in an old house in the Bronx that his parents had built originally when they emigrated to the U.S. Every Sunday, his neighborhood cronies, they would gather on the front porch and they would smoke their cigars, having been banned from all their houses. They would come and congregate at our place. They wouldn't say much, but they'd smoke. He and I used to walk around the neighborhood. I was maybe 5, 6 years old, and he took me with him on his rounds. He was well known and respected. He was quite educated. He was a professor of languages at the City College, and he was also the president of the Board of Education in the Bronx. But he was long retired by the time I was born. So he and I would go around the neighborhood, and I would watch him interacting with people. He was fluent in German and Italian, and he always had a good word to say to everyone he met. One of the highlights of these walks around, we would always stop at a particular candy store where he knew the owner, and he would buy me a Mellow Roll. If you don't know what that is, it means you didn't grow up in New York City. Mellow Roll. Talk to me afterwards. I'll tell you what it is. We would take walks. Sometimes we'd go over to the train yards and we'd talk about all the trains, what might be in them, and where they come from, and where are they going. And my favorite thing was to walk over to the Bronx Zoo, and we'd take our drawing supplies, and we would sit and sketch the animals. And it was always amazing to me, because he was a great sketch artist. He would create the soul of the animal right there on the paper, and it's just magic to me. I said, Uncle John, how can you do that? And because I looked at my drawing, and it was just little squiggles and wire head hair sticking out of a Google-eyed thing. And he said, well, you take your drawing and make these lines, make them forms, make them boxes, make them circles, make them ovals for the head. The paws, you make another box, and all of a sudden, my little squiggly drawing became something that other people would recognize what it was. And around the neighborhood, one of our last jaunts, he took me a little further afield, and we came to an empty block. And he said, we own this. Well, and to me, it wasn't very impressive. It was an empty lot filled with junk, old appliances and refrigerators and sofas and stuff. And he says, yeah, we own this, and someday we're going to sell it and sell the house, and we'll move to a better place. And that's exactly what we did. In another year or so, we moved to the suburban area of New York City in Queens. Where I went to high school, again, I was fortunate to go to a high school where you could actually major in art and design. The head of the department was a Mr. Frankel, and he was a debonair, very debonair guy. He wore tweed suits and bow ties. He had red hair and a little red mustache. He spoke French. He had a French wife, and he drove a Citroën, which at that time, to me, it just looked like a spaceship. I don't know if you remember what those things look like, but so elegant. In my junior year, at the end of my junior year, I came to him with a problem. I said, Mr. Frankel, I need some help. I've been applying to colleges, and my dad says I can go to any college in New York, and there were plenty of them. He says, but the catch is you have to live at home. I'm not paying for you to go away to school for room and board and all that. And I said, I don't want to go to college and live at home. I'm not going to do that. And he said, well, I think we should get you a scholarship. I said, well, I hadn't thought of that. And he says, yeah, we'll get you a scholarship to design school, and there's several here that I can think of we'll apply to. And one in upstate New York, which they have a very good art department, and I know the dean of the art school there is a friend of mine. Let's see what we can work out. That, again, is exactly what happened. I got a full scholarship to this art school. On graduation in 1964, I don't know how many of you have seen A Complete Unknown, this movie about Bob Dylan, but if you're old enough to remember those years, that's great. If you're not old enough to remember, see that movie and you'll get the vibe of the times. And so I had a girlfriend, and her brother had hitchhiked to California the year before. And he came back as a hero because he had worked in the onion fields of California. And he came back with his work boots and a bandana around his head and a guitar on his back, and just the epitome of hipness. And I said, well, I could do that. But I couldn't leave New York, of course. So what I did was I took the subway before sunup every morning to Hunts Point, the shipping center and the markets where the food for the city is distributed. And I went there for the Shape Up. What that is you go there and for temporary labor. We have one here in Santa Barbara, an area for that. Most places have something like that. So I went down there. I had the worst jobs in the world. I can't even describe how bad they were to you. But I did meet a gentleman named Christos. He had his own truck. He had his own business. And he and I started traveling around New York, delivering things. And he would chat with the people that we were delivering to and make me, 17 years old, carry all the stuff. Big bags of sugar and flour and grains and all that kind of thing. And I would watch him interact with the people, and he was friendly to everybody, shook hands with everybody. And we'd be driving one day, and he says, so kid, I was always kid. I mean, he never knew my name. He says, hey kid, you going to college? What are you going to do? I said, yeah, I'm going to college. He said, what kind of college are you going to? I'm going to art school. He says, art school, what are you going to do with that? And I said, well, you know, I love doing art. You know, I love thinking of an image and putting it down on a paper for other people to look at, and they get the idea, you know, that transfer of information, it's magic. He said, so you want to be an artist, huh? Well, you want to know what magic is, kid? I'll tell you what magic is. It's getting paid. That's magic. He says, you talk to somebody, you make a deal, you shake hands, you look them in the eye and say, you're going to do this and I'm going to do that. You do it and you get paid. Magical. When I was in art school, I transferred to the industrial design department because none of my art professors could tell me how I was ever going to get paid for the artwork that I was doing. Time went by, I grew up, I think. I moved to California, came here, joined this society. And the minister at that time had a thing he did. He had new members come up here and speak for a couple of minutes as to why they joined the society. And so I was one of these when we joined. And the worship committee at that time was chaired by a wonderful woman named Amelia Walter. And she must have liked what I said because she asked me to join that committee. And that was over 40 years ago. And through all its transitions, I'm still on the committee. And she encouraged me, and she was she's an awful critic. I mean, she was on my case so many times. One time she said, you know, I didn't agree with a single thing you said today, but I liked your presentation. I'll never forget that. And she told me how to communicate, how to speak directly to people who were here. And I had a question, which it was very important to me. It was giving me a lot of problems. I said, you know, how can we speak about goodness and joy and all this when the world is in such terrible shape? There's so many bad things going on in the world. I feel guilty somehow. I feel guilty about talking about how wonderful things are. There seemed to be such a space there, I couldn't get through it. Well, she said, remember a couple of things. One is if we don't talk about the good things, who will? And what will they say? It might not necessarily be something we agree with. And also, you know what they tell you when you're taking an airplane trip and you take off. And they said, in case your oxygen mask falls down in front of you, what do? You put yours on first. You take care of yourself. Be secure in yourself. Be sincere in yourself with others. And then you interact with others. Then from this space, you talk to other people. So don't worry too much about what's going on outside. It's about you, it's about us here together and what's important to us. Oh, and the last piece of advice, she said, don't ever tell jokes. I have never told a joke. My current mentor is my 18-month-old grandson. The first thing he taught me is that he can run faster than I can. Plus, he can run under tables, he can run under chairs. Impossible to catch this kid. The next thing he taught me, when we were up there in Oakland the last time, we would take him to, Donis and I would take him to the playground where there were other kids and other parents there. And so I would watch him playing. These kids, he didn't know, but kids can play together. You know, that's what they do. They make up things, they climb things, they play together. And also the parents. You know, there were people of all descriptions there, of all genders, all races, all couples. And somehow, it seemed to me, and everyone friendly and talking to one another, talking to me, I'm talking to them, I don't know them. But it occurred to me, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is what life is all about. It's us being together, friendly, chatting, talking, watching our kids play. And then I thought, well, how do we make that larger, like Charlotte was talking about on her chart? Because there's something called the quantum gap. If you know anything about physics, you know there's the quantum world within the atom, and then there's the greater world where things individuate and they have mass and they have presence. But in between those two worlds, there's a gap. And scientists continually are trying to see how big a particle they can make, to entangle it, to transport it, and so on. And so they're trying to constantly make this gap smaller. And I thought that's so true in this world. You know, we have our world here in the playground, but it doesn't transpose into the greater world, into the greater community. I walk down the street in the next neighborhood, people aren't going to talk to me. They're not going to have things in common. the neighborhood, the city, the state gets further and further apart. And I'm thinking, the playground, this is the way it should be. But how to grow that playground until it fills the entire world. The last thing he taught me was how wonderful it is to be in the moment. Playing with this kid, you know, there's really no purpose to it. It's just fun. It's in the moment. We're doing something, and the world goes away. It's just he and I, or the family. And that's what it's about. That's all it's about. Oh, and there was one thing Amelia taught me. She said, never reminisce. And what have I been doing for all this time? But the good thing about that is that from my point in life, you get to a point in life and you can look back at your life, and somehow it all makes sense. I mean, all the twists and turns, the ups and downs, the disappointments, the great celebrations, they seem to have come at random when they're happening. But you look back and think, yeah, that's the way it was supposed to be. And that's a great feeling, regardless of any accomplishments you might have had or where you are in life. It feels like everything was planned that way, just for you. These mentors, they're large and small. They're momentary or have lasted a lifetime. But they all appeared when I needed them. And I love them. I love them all for being in my life. Let's end with another hymn, shall we? Break Not the Circle. Number 323. And when we're done singing, let's join hands for our closing words and closing song.
Break not the circle of enabling love, where people grow forgiven and forgiving. Break not that circle, make it wider still, till it includes, embraces all the living. Come wonder at this love that comes to life, where words of freedom are with humor spoken, and people keep no score of wrong and guilt, but will that human bonds remain unbroken. Join them, the movement of the love that frees, till people of whatever race or nation will truly be themselves, stand on their feet, see eye to eye with laughter and elation.
So let's join hands, or put your hand on someone's shoulder or over your heart. Cross the aisle, that's good. We always need more of that. Years ago, when Donis and I were looking for a place to be married, we came here. I remember walking into the sanctuary and feeling instantly at home. It wasn't love at first sight. That has taken years to grow and deepen. If you are a new member, you have much to look forward to. For me now, it's harvest time. I can honestly say that I love this community and everyone in it. May we all live in the awareness of this love we share. Go lifted up, go in peace, go in love, and can somebody please say amen?
Amen.
Now let's call out a blessing.
Call out a blessing, call out a blessing, call